knows?
Hi, everyone. Good day.
We're live.
Good day. Good evening.
We're breathing. We are
Yes. At the moment, anyway. Good to know.
live. All right, let's see what kind of rowdy crowd we have here. We have Richard McKinney. Left 36 hours after the crash. Terminal was somber. Yeah.
I'm sure.
Tim Van Ram, great big Western howdy. Well, howdy there.
Nice one.
Yeah, thanks for noticing. Let's see. We got Mike Kuipers,
Yes.
the mayor, and Kevin S. back from the Catholic Pilot days.
He came back.
Yeah. And I'm glad you enjoyed last week's live show. I'm glad you're back. You know, you're a big part of helping us out, Kevin. I don't know if I put in the top here of the comments a link for show notes for the live show. Maybe somebody can kind of cut and paste that into their browser to see. Yeah, to see if that works.
I can do that.
Because I don't think there's any way to make it a link by just clicking on it directly. I think you have to actually copy that.
I'm not sure if I can copy it. Oh, yeah, I can. No.
No?
Delete it.
Oh, shoot.
I can't copy it.
Oh. Okay. Well, you just have to type all that in.
Every time I click on it, it just is showing you that.
Oh. Well, then I guess that wasn't a very good idea. How else could I do that?
Put it on. No, we don't want to put it on one of the social meets.
Well, I could put it in the on the website YouTube page. I don't know if it's even worth it now, but
No.
Oh well.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're always experimenting.
Yeah. You know what?
Or I guess you could just type in note/AA705499-5C56-4PC.
Is there a way you can copy it and send it to me in a message?
Yeah.
Can you do that? And then I can at least test it.
Okay. Even though nobody else will be able to use it. Okay.
If I have it, I can keep posting it at intervals in the chat room.
All right.
If there's an easy way for you to
But if there's I wish there was a way to kind of make it, well, I mean, there is a way. I know I could make it like a tiny URL kind of thing, so that people wouldn't have to type out. I know how to do that.
Okay.
I know how to do that. It'll just take a minute. Do you think we have enough time to do that?
Yeah, that's fine. Kevin's saying that looks like a Nevernote login is required.
Oh. It shouldn't require a login. It should be anybody that has the link should be able to access this.
Well, if that's the case, there's no point in spending time on this.
No, I mean, if that's actually true, then, that's dumb. Copy link. Share.
Yeah, and UH Blackhawk is saying the same thing.
Oh, hang on.
Log in.
It's because I got to do something different to this thing. Anyone with a link can view. Okay, copy link.
Stand by. He's trying to try and fix it.
Okay, here. This should work. Target URL. Hang on. And then I'm going to make this SN650 for SN for show notes.
Oh, very
great. Okay, so now if you do airlinepilotguy.com/ S N 650, that should take you to the link, and now it shouldn't be restricted. I'm hoping.
Okay,
Fingers crossed.
Say it again, Jeff, what they're supposed to do.
Okay. https:/ airlinepilotguy.com, our website address, airlinepilotguy.com /SN650, and the S and the N are uppercase.
Oh, SN650. Okay. Somebody out there check it, because if I tried, I'm already logged in. It's not going to make
Yeah.
me. I'm not a good tester. So either Kevin or UH Blackhawk or Donna or somebody.
I wish there was a
As
way to
an
make it up.
aside, why are
Yes.
so many aeroplanes called a 650? What is it about a 650?
Well, 650 is known for
Van Ram
its.
is saying it still wants a sign in, even with this 650 thing. Van Ram, are you using the updated thing?
Okay, I clicked on. Oh, it's still saying restricted. Dang it.
Yeah, he's saying that the new one still does too, Jeff. Tim.
Okay, let me try this again. Gosh darn it.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's still wanting a login.
hang on. Sorry, people.
Stand by, everybody.
Let me do a quick edit. And
Nick's going to have a little snooze while he's waiting. You're going to make me seasick, Nick.
Well, who's rocking the boat?
Rock the boat, don't tip the boat over. Rock the boat.
rock the boat.
That song. Yeah. Thank you, Richard. Don't say sorry, just do better. I'm a Canadian. I say sorry all the time. That's what we do.
Why was he born so beautiful? Why was he born at all? He's no fluffing use to anyone. He's no fluffing use at all.
Don't take that
Okay, try it
personally,
again.
Jeff. Same sign in, the HTTPS thing?
Yeah.
Okay. So try that HTTPS airlinepilotguide.com/SN650 again, guys.
And if that doesn't work, then
We're giving
we'll just say,
up.
forget
We'll
it.
move on.
We'll try it again next week.
Yeah. We'll troubleshoot.
Yeah. It could be if you've already gone to that link in your browser, then the browser may be caching the restricted access
So
version.
Clean your cache. Clear
Yeah.
your cache. It works.
Or send all your.
Van Ram says it works.
Yay.
Yay.
Grand
Thank
Theft
you,
Auto.
Thank you, Tim.
So what does it say? San
I think it says San Andreas.
Okay.
San Andreas?
Yep. They're happy it's working. Well
Beautiful.
done,
I
Jeffrey.
don't know. It's a handkerchief. I don't know where I even got it from.
Probably your son. Isn't that a video game, Grand Theft Auto? Doesn't Ricky play a lot of video games?
Yep.
That's probably from him.
Okay.
But Doug was the great Grand Theft Auto fan.
Is that how you're getting the new car, Grand Theft Auto?
Yeah, what kind of Volvo is
Well, new Volvo.
Yes. What model?
I think it's the biggest.
The 90?
Well, the
28-year-old.
XC70 or something. It's not quite the. It's not quite. It's not an SUV. Put it that way. It's just an enormous.
The
station
biggest
wagon.
sort of wagon, estate wagon.
Yeah,
nice?
it's hybrid.
All
as
right.
well.
Are we getting close to starting now?
So you
Yeah,
have
we're
to
getting
cart
closer.
around a 2-litre engine and half a ton of batteries as well.
Oh, it's a hybrid?
Yeah. They
Nice.
don't make straight petrol or diesel or anything anymore.
Oh. Okay. I think I'm. Oh, wait, hang on. I got. That is
It
recording.
works. Hooray.
Yep, that's recording. And this is recording, so I think we're ready to go.
Alrighty.
All right, here we go. Let me do the countdown.
Alrighty.
You're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show.
The view from our side of the cockpit door.
WAPG.
It's the Airline Pilot Guy.
Airline Pilot Guy episode 650.
Yeah, he's up in the sky. It's the Airline Pilot Guy.
Hello, you're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy show, the view from our side of the cockpit door. With your host, Captain Jeff, broadcasting live from the APG Road Vessel Studio. Today's show is recorded on the week of February 3rd, 2025.
Yeah, he's up in the sky. It's the Airline Pilot Guy. It's your light and it's flying by. With the Airline Pilot Guy.
In today's episode, a medevac plane crashes in Philadelphia.
I have a lost aircraft. We're not exactly sure what happened.
And searchers find all the black boxes from that mid-air collision near Washington. Also ahead, more news and your feedback. So get all settled in. Tray tables and seat backs in the upright and lock positions. Electronic devices powered on. I'm Radio Roger, and Flight 650 is ready for pushback.
Thank you, Radio Roger. He's an award-winning TV and radio reporter currently at the #1 all-news station in the nation. 1010 wins on 92.3 FM in
New York City.
Welcome to the Airline Pilot Guy Show. It's an aviation podcast covering the latest in aviation news and answering your great feedback. I'm Captain Jeff, a former U.S. Air Force pilot and retired Delta Airlines captain. And joining me from his studio,
in Hartford, Hereford, and Hampshire.
Past it professional photographer. Yeah, I don't know what that means either. Former RAF, RAAF fighter pilot, retired Airbus A330, A340 captain for Virgin Atlantic Airways. It's Captain Nick.
Hi, Jeff. Hello there, Liz. Did you know in 1990, Northwest Flight 650, same as our show number, was a 727, which you used to fly, Jeff. It successfully flew from Fargo all the way to Minneapolis, St. Paul, despite all three pilots being legally drunk. After landing, the entire flight deck crew were arrested and found guilty. They were all given prison sentences, which ranged from 1 year to 16 months. Now, if anyone else wants to give it a go, these particular guys all drank together at the Speakeasy restaurant in Fargo.
I wonder if it's still there.
It's a favorite on my map.
Because I just found it.
Yeah, 19 rum and cokes is what the captain consumed.
That's
a little bit more than normal. Okay. If I have my numbers correct, I think I remember that little detail.
Interesting detail that you remember.
Yeah, I usually cut it off at about 14 or 15, actually.
Yeah.
All right.
And cheers, guys. And girls.
Oh, cheers.
Cheers.
I have nothing. Okay. And also joining us, our producer, well, I should say it the correct way. It's our from her studio in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, retired financier and aviation enthusiast, spreadsheet master, and our producer, it's Liz Piper.
Hi, everybody. I just took a self-administered breathalyzer, and I'm fine. I'm okay.
You're good.
Yeah, I'm
for
good.
you.
It's all
Oh, then
good.
it's going to be a boring show.
I'll do that.
Well, Stefan Camacho should be joining us
I'm
at
good
some
too.
point, so they'll spice it up.
Yep, for sure. Yeah, so we'll have a couple other hosts joining us in progress.
Have a good show.
Cheers, Liz.
She cut herself off again.
Yeah.
Have a good. Come back and do it again for the recording. Have a good show, guys, and then push the button.
Have a good show, guys.
All right.
Thanks, Liz.
Thanks, Liz.
Stand by for news.
All right, this first item, let's see. Yeah, we do have some audio for this. Okay, the first item in our news segment is this crash that occurred within 48 hours of that terrible, tragic mid-air collision in Washington, D.C., not too far not too far away in Philadelphia, in northeast Philadelphia. This accident occurred involving a Learjet 55, registration X-Ray Alpha Uniform Charlie India. And again, this was on the 31st of January, 2025, operated by Jet Rescue Air Ambulance. Let's see. And they had 6 occupants in the jet, the pilot, co-pilot, a doctor, and another, I think, an EMS person, EMS nurse, and then a pediatric patient, and the little girl's mom made up the people that were involved in this accident in the jet. There were also some injuries on the ground, but I don't think there were any fatalities on the ground. I may be wrong about that, but let me read a little bit from the Aviation News, Aviation Safety News. Yeah, Safety Network. Thank you. Let's see, it's a Mexican registry, the X-Ray Alpha prefix. They were operating as MedJets 56. Was destroyed when it collided with terrain shortly after takeoff from Philadelphia, North Philadelphia Airport, KPNE, Papa November Echo, in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Here's a little bit of the ATC audio from liveatc.net.
Med Service 056 on departure, turn right heading 290, runway 24, clear for takeoff, wind 25010. Medevac Med Service 056 affirmative. On departure, turn right heading 290, runway 24, clear for takeoff. Medevac Med Service 056, contact Philly departure 123.8.
123.8, Mike Tango Sierra 056 Medevac. Thank you, good day.
Medevac Med Service 056, Northeast Tower, contact Philly 123.8. Medevac Med Service Northeast Tower. Medevac Med Service 056, Northeast Tower, you on frequency?
Medevac Mike Tango Sierra 056, Northeast Tower, how do you hear this transmission?
Medevac Med Service 056, Northeast Tower.
Turkey 6098 Foxtrot, Northeast Ground, Roger. Stand by one. I'll get back to you when I can.
Approach to runway 24, what's going on down there?
Position 765. We have a lost aircraft. We're not exactly sure what happened, so we're trying to figure it out. For now, the field is going to be closed, so no inbounds or outbounds probably.
All right, understand. Thank you.
6098 Foxtrot, I'm sure you copied that, but for right now, we're gonna call the field closed. We'll try to get you out here when we can. If we can't, we'll have to take you over to Atlantic, but stand by for now.
Okay, there is the liveatc.net audio, and okay, Blackhawk in our live audience says that he thinks there was one fatality on the ground. Yeah, I think you're right. When I was reading this, I'm thinking, I think there may have been one fatality on the ground. I think it may have been one of the occupants of one of the cars that was hit by the debris from the crash. All right, so the weather at the time of this accident was not great. It was anywhere from 400 to 600 feet overcast. The temperature was well above freezing, so I don't think that, and it never got that high. I think 1,600 feet was about as high as it got, according to ADSB. So I don't think icing is going to be a factor in this. And all anybody really knows at this point is that it just was climbing out, and then all of a sudden the climb was it wasn't climbing out as quickly as a Learjet 55 normally does, and then it just basically fell out of the sky. And at the point right before impact, the rate of descent was 11,000 feet per minute. That's pretty severe. So apparently the airplane just went out of control or got out of control or whatever, but nobody's sure why. I don't think it was a stall because the speeds, according to the ADSB data, were pretty high throughout the entire incident. It never got anywhere near stall speeds. So, yeah, I'm not sure exactly what happened here. Of course, the NTSB is very busy, but this is another thing they've just added or was added to their plate. And yeah, it's a sad story. And there was some video. I'm sure that people have had a chance to see some of the security videos of the airplane coming down from the sky pretty steeply, and it crashed near a mall, not on the mall, but very close to a mall up in northeast Pennsylvania. And Colonel Jeff, or the good-looking Captain Jeff, if you prefer, lives about 10 miles from where this incident occurred. And yeah, just sad. A big crater in the ground. Yeah.
Going at a hell of a lick. It was a very steep, as you said, Jeff, very steep descent. And the video I saw, it was I was just gobsmacked that it had managed to get itself into such a dramatic nose-down situation. And it didn't appear that there was anything really happening that you could see in an attempt to recover. It was just doing a dart into the ground. I think doubly tragic, really, because these kind of, you always think these kind of flights are very important because medevac flights, particularly when you've got a pediatric patient, you've just got a feel for everyone involved because they're little treasures, aren't they, our children, and they're obviously off to hopefully have good works done, and then this happens, and you just go, well, that's such a cruel turn of events. Oh, Liz tells me it was actually the end of treatment, so that's almost worse, really, isn't it?
I believe it was Shriners Hospital in Philadelphia where she had several procedures accomplished, and she was on her way home to Mexico, and they were going from Philadelphia to Springfield, Missouri. And then they were going to refuel there and then make the next leg into Mexico, Tijuana, I think. Very sad, very sad.
Yep, and very rare this, from what I could see of the video, very rare this type of incident straight after takeoff. What is basically commercial or aircraft with commercial pilots flying.
Yeah. All right, we'll keep our ears and eyes open for updates on this accident. Moving to our next news article from, Camacho's back. Hello. Welcome, everybody.
Camacho's a drone pilot, aren't you, Nick?
Yes.
All right. Well, you're a good man.
Sound very confident.
I have done some drone stuff. Yes, I have done some drone stuff.
Right.
Okay.
I'm gonna stay stum then.
All right. So this is an update to the news item that we had talked about a few weeks back in Los Angeles with the fires and the Palisades fire in particular, where the airplane called the Super Scooper, Quebec 1, I believe, was what they designated it, was a Canadian purpose-built firefighting aircraft that collided with a drone that was not supposed to be there. It was illegal. And turns out that federal charges were announced against a Culver City man, and that's in Southern California, on Friday in connection with a civilian drone that was hit and damaged a water-dropping Super Scooper aircraft. Peter Tripp Akeman, 56, agreed to plead guilty to one count of unsafe operation of an unmanned aircraft, according to the Justice Department. Prosecutors filed an indictment charging Akeman with the misdemeanor offense that carries a prison sentence of up to 1 year in federal prison. According to officials, the plane collided with a privately owned drone, causing significant damage to it, and the drone put a football-sized hole in the aircraft. It managed to safely land, but the Super Scooper was left out of commission for several days while the fire burned. It was only one of 2 Super Scoopers available. According to the assistant director in charge of the FBI's Los Angeles field office, Akil Davis, quote, lack of common sense and ignorance of your duty as a drone pilot will not shield you from criminal charges. He said there's no evidence that he intentionally caused the collision. However, flying drones in a restricted area could cause let me try that again. However, I think I'm having a stroke. However, flying drones in a restricted area could cause a catastrophe, Davis said. Officials say the plane was owned by the government of Quebec and that Aikman has agreed to pay restitution. He has also agreed to 150 hours of community service related to wildfire relief. Well, that's a lot better than spending 12 months in the prison for sure. The FAA can also impose a civil penalty of up to $75,000 against any drone pilot who interferes with wildfire suppression. But in this case, it looks like that didn't release or reveal, what kind of remuneration he was going to give. I don't know. I guess to the Canadian government for this. Oh, that's right. The U.S. dollar, Canadian dollar conversion means he's gonna win in that respect. Okay. Yeah. Yes. Oh, we have Mohammed with us in our live chat room, our live audience from Baghdad, Iraq. Yeah, great to see you, man. Yeah, I need to, at some point, maybe after we finish the recording, I need to talk about this YouTube person that rides a motorcycle. She rides her motorcycle all over the place, all over the world. And the current series or season now, she's in Iraq and Iran and Kurdistan and that kind of thing. I think it's pretty interesting. Anyway, all right. Let's continue then with the next item in the queue, which is an update on the Washington, D.C. mid-air collision between the PSA CRJ 700 and the military Sikorsky Blackhawk helicopter. And in fact, this show, I think one of the things that makes it so great is the involvement of our community. And one of those who sends us a lot of feedback is a person that has a lot of experience in the various types of aircraft that were involved in this mid-air collision. And he sent some audio feedback for us to play on the show. And he talks a little bit about his credentials in the audio feedback. So Sam Dawson is going to talk to us a little bit. So here we go.
Hello, APG crew. This is Sam Dawson. Captain Nick and I exchanged some texts about the DCA mid-air, and he asked me to put together an audio feedback. I've never done one, so we'll see how this turns out. I'm sure there'll be some editing necessary. I do think the analysis that Captain Jeff and Nick made in the last episode was pretty much spot on. I do think this is an accident where we'll find the Funyuns really aligned. I don't think there'll be just one causal factor. I think there'll be many factors when the NTSB does finish their report. I also want to emphasize that I'm not here to cast blame on anybody in anything I say. I'm just going to try and give the facts as they are at this moment and maybe clear up some misconceptions and answer a couple questions I've heard bantered about. A little bit of my background. I've been flying about 40 years. I'm currently a 756 FO for a major airline. I'm an instructor single-engine land, multi-engine land, helicopter, an instructor instrument airplane and helicopter. I hold commercial ratings single-engine land, single-engine sea, rotary wing helicopter, rotary wing autogyro, and glider. I have an ATP, and I'm typed in the S70, the ATR 42 and 72, the CL 65, the Boeing 737, 747, 757, and 767. For those Googling the S70, I'll save you some time. The S-70 is the Sikorsky S-70, better known by the military name, the UH-60 Blackhawk. Yes, there is a type rating in it in the U.S. I've got about a little over 2,000 hours in the Blackhawk, probably about half that time as an instructor pilot. The CL-65 is the CRJ, covering the CRJ 200, 700, 900. I've flown all three models, but I think most of my time, well, don't think, I'm pretty sure 100%. Most of my time is in the CRJ 700, the type that was involved in the accident. I actually have flown the CRJ 700 in and out of DCA a number of times, although that was a number of years ago. And I'm fairly certain I've done that exact same approach that was involved in this accident. I've flown all over the U.S. and all over the world, and I will say that the DCA airspace is probably the most challenging in all the world. DCA is located in the heart of DC, very busy airspace with prohibited areas all around. It's also a very busy area as far as ground traffic goes, which is why helicopters are used quite a bit, especially for VIP transport. Most airline flying is straight-in approaches, with a few exceptions. I'd say 95% or more of our flying is straight-in approaches, normally an ILS. The exceptions that stick out in my mind, the expressway visual into LaGuardia, the stadium visual into Newark, this visual approach into DCA and some of the other ones into DCA. And then overseas, the one that sticks to my mind is there's a visual approach into Nice as well. I think this is important, as Nick pointed out, and Jeff, I believe, as well. At this point in the approach, the CRJ crew would have been focused on the approach to landing, visually acquiring runway 33, executing the left-base turn, being stabilized, and yet still touching down early on that runway, as it's a fairly short runway, comparatively speaking, for airline pilots. So this brings up one of the first questions I've heard people ask, and that's why helicopters are near busy airspace and a busy Class B airport. Well, that's because that's where people work. It's not uncommon at busy airports to mix rotary wing traffic and fixed wing traffic, airline traffic. Most cases I see this is done with vertical separation. For example, it's not unusual going in and out of Newark on short final to have rotary wing traffic transitioning above us, but usually the separation is about 1,000 feet. We'll be about 500 feet or below, and that rotary wing traffic will be about 1,500 feet, transitioning from the east to the west and then circling back around to land at Newark. Obviously, something broke down, however, in this case at Reagan, and I'm sure that will be evaluated. Which brings up another question: why was an Army unit, an Army helicopter, doing this? Well, that's their mission. It's a PAT aircraft, priority air transport. It's a VIP support, and they will often transport VIPs around the DC area. That's their mission. That's what they need to do. Which also brings up the question about doing a training flight. Again, this was not, as Nick and Jeff pointed out, primary training. This was more advanced training. This was probably a local area checkout or even an annual standard evaluation, which is done to make sure the pilot can do the unit's mission, which would be flying around the DC area. So that's why they were doing this kind of training. Not unusual at all. Where training could be a factor would be the extra stress put on the pilot being evaluated and the extra complexity for the instructor pilot involved. I've done hundreds of check rides over the years. When I was a regional pilot and a guard pilot at the same time, I was doing 5 check rides a year. And I'll say I never stopped getting nervous about check rides. Your career's kind of on the line there. So it's kind of standard or normal for a pilot being evaluated to be a little bit nervous. So there would have been something of that involved. Was it a factor? I have no idea, and I'm sure the NTSB will look into it. On the instructor side, you're also trying to divide your attention, talking on the radio, looking for traffic, looking at what the pilot being evaluated is doing, maybe giving that pilot feedback during the evaluation as well. Much has also been made about the possibility of night vision goggles being used and their limitations. They do have limitations as far as depth perception, peripheral vision, and visual acuity. However, flying without night vision goggles also presents limitations. You learn while flying with night vision goggles to compensate for its limitations. Sometimes you look underneath the goggles, but yes, they can be a factor. Now, I've not flown this route, but talking to UH-60 pilots who have flown this route and listening to some describing flying this route, it can be a problem losing aircraft in the lights of the city. It's a major problem doing this route. And again, I think that's something the NTSB will do a good job of evaluating. I'll go a little bit more into the NTSB here a little bit later before I finish. Much has been made about the altitudes being flown. I will say this, my one comment is that if we have a procedure in place that only relies on 100 feet or a couple hundred feet of separation between aircraft, we're really putting a little too much trust in that procedure. It's very easy for pilots to get off just a little bit in a situation like this, and have a procedure in place that's expecting perfection from pilots, I think is probably not the best procedure to have in place. We should also remember that barometric altimeters can be off by as much as 75 feet and still be legal. I assume the aircraft also had radar altimeters, but again, we don't know the data that the aircrew saw. We'll really need to wait for the NTSB to pull that data really before we can make any kind of judgment. Next, I'll deal with TCAS. As Nick pointed out, RAs are inhibited below 1,000 feet with TCAS, at least the one I use. TAs, traffic advisories, are inhibited below 500 feet. I could see how this could be an issue with the CRJ crew. As they were descending in, they very easily might have gotten a TA from that helicopter initially below 1,000 feet, but then as they descended below 500 feet, that TA would go away, and that could give them the false assumption that that traffic is no longer a factor, when in actuality, it's the TCAS system suppressing that TA traffic. I'll end by saying that for those who are not familiar with it, the NTSB is an independent, non-political organization and is excellent at their job. I have no doubt that they get to the bottom of this, and in spite of what many pundits are saying on TV, I don't think this will be a simple accident. I think there will be many causal factors. There'll probably be several contributing factors as well. I don't think it will be this simple accident that many are claiming it is. I would emphasize that the NTSB does not make actual changes. They make recommendations, and they don't hold punches with their recommendations. Changes are made either by the FAA and or Congress. So if any recommendations are made by the NTSB that need to be acted upon, it would be up to the FAA and Congress to do so. For those interested in a more in-depth analysis of this accident, I'd highly recommend Juan Brown, either his YouTube channel, or I think he has a Patreon as well. Sorry, APG crew, for recommending another podcast, but he does a good job of evaluating accidents without casting blame and trying to glean some lessons learned for pilots. Things we can learn before the NTSB accident report comes out, which can take well over a year. I would end by saying my prayers go out to everybody involved. My heart breaks for all the families involved. Often before I fly, I will say a silent prayer. God, please don't let me screw the pooch. And if I do, please protect others from my mistakes.
Poor Pooch. Thank you, Sam. That was excellent. Quickly before I forget, so his point regarding the NTSB and making suggestions, but it's the FAA's basically authority and responsibility to enact any suggestions from the NTSB and implement changes. And I think somebody had said that there are over 1,000 recommendations that are still not been enacted. So it's a big number, and it's and they've been frustrated for decades regarding this kind of discrepancy in authority and power to enact. But they still keep doing their jobs very well. And I'm sorry, you broke up a little bit. Say it again, Liz. Well, they can, but again, they have no power to enact or enforce. Mhm. I think, yeah, sometimes a contributory causes, whatever, are something that are often pointed at airlines and their programs and procedures and such. He mentioned Blancalirio channel, which we talk about a lot on our show, and we recommend that highly. And the other thing I wanted to recommend is just yesterday, Opposing Bases, yes, the best aviation podcast in the world, and it really is good. It did a show a little bit different than their normal show run, where they specifically focused on this terrible accident in Washington, D.C. And the reason why you all need to listen to it, if I would imagine that many of you already subscribe to Opposing Bases and know how great a show it is. But so we have so many components involved in this one. We have the regional jet pilot, we have the UH-60 Blackhawk pilot, and we have the air traffic control aspect of it. And they cover all those bases in spades. RH is a former regional jet pilot who flew quite often. I think he said once a week or once every other week into Washington, DCA in the regional jet. He then became an air traffic controller for 14 years. And then he just recently left, and he's now a first officer at a major airline. AG, the other host of the show, retired. He's Army helicopter pilot, retired. I don't think he flew the UH-60 Blackhawk, but he has a lot of experience in Army helicopter flying and procedures, and night vision goggles, by the way. That's a great reason to listen to their show that they just recorded yesterday. He talks a lot about how they work and how they get around some of the limitations. And he is I don't know for how many years he's been an air traffic controller, but he's still an air traffic controller. So it was a outstanding podcast that they recorded yesterday, and everybody has to listen to it to kind of add to all this wonderful information that we're getting from people such as Sam as well. Okay, Mohammed in our live audience says that he is a listener, and I don't want to go into all the people that listen to the show, Liz, because probably most of the people that are in our live audience are, right, yeah. All right. And the other thing I wanted to mention, and I've been talking a lot about that mid-air collision in various places, including our podcast that we recorded last week. And I don't remember exactly where I said this, but I may have done it on the last episode, where I suggested that the tower controller didn't give any kind of information about where the traffic was in relation to the helicopter pilot, et cetera. And that was because the second time that he mentioned the traffic, he didn't mention any of that stuff. But the first time that he did, and now I understand that, we have more information available to us, that somewhere before that first call out of traffic to the Blackhawk helicopter crew was that they have traffic going to runway 33, and I think that they gave a distance or a physical location of where they were. So all the things that I was kind of thinking were lacking in his traffic call out, he did give that information on a previous traffic call out. So I apologize for saying that. I just didn't have all that information at the time. So just wanted to make sure I set the record straight regarding that. Okay. Oh, and then we have an update. They are still in the salvage mode, pulling out the pieces from the Potomac River, and I think they have most of it extracted. And the NTSB said that, let's see, what is this from, Liz, this last article? All bodies are recovered, and this is, where is this news from? This, so we can give it CNN. Okay. And let's see. NTSB said it pulled the Potomac TRACON or terminal radar approach control data to help resolve a discrepancy in the initial readings from the radar data gathered for the investigation. That discrepancy, according to Jennifer Homendy, the chair of the NTSB, could be because the radar at Ronald Reagan Washington National Airport is updated every 5 seconds, allowing for significant movements within that frame. Here's a quote from her. There's a lot that occurs in 5 seconds, especially when a helicopter is moving at a pretty good clip, she said Monday after they recovered the helicopter's black box. They're taking that data and making sure that it's accurate, that the timestamps are right to try to marry it up with the black box data from the plane in order to provide that information publicly, she said. Okay, so that's kind of another update that we have on the mid-air collision.
I don't think 5 seconds is a particularly bad data rate. For heaven's sake, you're sweeping a scanner through 360 degrees every 5 seconds. How far do you move forward in 5 seconds? And, you're going to get a paint every 5 seconds. So, not too sure about that.
Well, you're going to have to take that up with Jennifer then, the
yeah,
chairman of the NTSB.
I've got a direct line to her, no problem.
Ready to copy this number?
Yeah.
We had one of our hosts join us just a little bit ago, not right at the very beginning, but we have another one waiting in the wings that might want to join us.
On the wings or in the wings?
Or in the wings, on the wings. Something below the wings.
Holding her wings.
So I was listening to the discussion and trying to, one of my dogs was very excited, so I was trying to manage that before I into the podcast here.
Yeah,
there was a toy that was very squeaky that I was having difficulty.
Is it the same?
Sure where it went. Yeah, it's the same toy. It's a favorite.
And the squeaky things is still inside of it?
It's still inside of it. Actually.
Wow. That's pretty amazing, actually. There it is.
I'm going to put this somewhere over here.
Okay.
It's being eyed right now. Surprise. Uh-oh.
He said, are we going to play? We're going to play?
Oh, he's so hopeful. Later on, buddy. Later on.
So here is our Dr. Steph. She has joined us, and we're glad that she has. And anything to add at all to our discussion so far?
No, I mean, I was listening in, and obviously, we covered that story pretty early on last week. I think the day after it, the accident occurred. So I think there's going to just be a lot more information as time goes on that's going to, shed a lot of light on some of the initial doubts or uncertainties that we had and everyone else has had. And we're going to know exactly what happened, all the details at some point in the future.
Yep. Okay. C2. Okay, we're getting some direction from our producer in the back channel communications.
In the back passage.
Yeah, well, thank you.
Not going there.
That's what they all say. Okay. I don't know what that means. Sorry. This is a news item from AOPA.org, and it involves a fatal RV-10 accident. Now, this RV is very unlike the RV that I am living in and recording the show from right now. This is an aircraft company, an experimental aircraft home-built, do-it-yourself kind of airplane construction company. Vans. RV is the what does that stand for, Camacho? Again, RV.
That was the initials of the guy the designer and founder of the company.
Oh, something Vans.
Richard Van Scrunven was his name.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay.
And I assume he figured, rightfully so, that people would have trouble saying a Van Scrunven RV-10, so he just calls them Vans.
Yeah, instead now we just kind of confuse it with like the recreational vehicles that we see on the roads.
Right.
But, oh well. Yeah, you can't win, I guess. Anyway, so this article from the AOPA says witness accounts, evidence detailed in preliminary NTSB report. A witness who watched the Vans aircraft RV-10 depart from Fullerton Municipal Airport in California on the 2nd of January told investigators that the left side gull wing door was open after takeoff, and that he saw the pilot's arm reach up to pull it down. Investigators found the left cabin door of the Vans aircraft RV-10 that crashed on January 2nd on the roof of the same warehouse that the airplane struck while attempting an emergency landing at Fullerton Municipal Airport. Okay, so the door actually landed on the roof of that warehouse that the airplane ended up crashing into. All right, let's see. The RV-10 was about 100 feet in the air after takeoff when this observation was made of him reaching up to try to pull the gull wing door down. The eyewitness was unable to follow the action from there as the departing aircraft flew away, though others helped NTSB investigators piece together the sequence of events detailed in a preliminary report that focuses most of the attention on the open door. There are no signs or indications of engine trouble in the report. Wreckage showed signs of the propeller turning under power, and a camera located about 500 feet from the crash captured normal engine sounds in the final second. Pilot Pascal Reed reported immediate landing required soon after departure, and initially stated he would land on runway 6, the reciprocal of the runway he had just departed. According to the audio recording, he decided seconds later to attempt runway 24 after being cleared to land in either direction. The NTSB report notes investigators were able to obtain recordings from the FAA that add to the recordings available immediately after the accident from liveatc.net. Yay, we use them all the time, documenting both sides of Reed's communications with the tower. The report also notes additional details about the final seconds, the aircraft passing the runway 24 threshold on the downwind leg at 435 feet MSL. Airport elevation is 96 feet, so that's like 340 feet above ground level, very low, at 85 knots during the attempt to return to runway 24. And I think that's pretty slow, too, for an RV-10. Is that right, Camacho? I don't know if you know what the speeds are or stall speed or anything on a RV-10, but 85 knots sounds kind of slow.
I think it's slow. I don't think it's dangerously slow, but I think it is like a climb or approach type of speed. I mean, the RV-10 is a fast cruising airplane, right? But one of the things that the RVs are really known for is kind of their like wide envelope of having good performance, but also being relatively docile. So I haven't flown an RV-10, but I've flown a 7, which is a 2-place RV, and we would approach in that airplane at like 74 knots, I think. Okay, so this is probably nowhere near stall speed at this point on the downwind. But I think you would agree that it's awfully low. I mean, 1,000 feet is usually the traffic pattern altitude? Yeah.
And they're... let's see, the aircraft's builder and owner, Pascal Reed, died along with his passenger and teenage daughter when the RV-10 struck the roof of a furniture outlet warehouse about 1,500 feet from the threshold of runway 24. The impact and ensuing fire injured 19 people inside the building, 11 of them seriously. The NTSB preliminary report notes that the left side door was visible in security camera footage of the aircraft departing the run-up area. So the door was down, but not flush with the fuselage, so it wasn't completely closed and locked. It separated from the aircraft just before impact and was found on the roof of the building. Okay. Lower than normal approach. They were banking aggressively left as it made the transition from downwind to base leg. 3 witnesses then saw the airplane roll aggressively again to the left for what they assumed was the turn to final, all stating that they could almost see the full wing profile and were concerned it may stall. So what that means to me is that maybe it was pitching up. Is that what they're trying to say as far as seeing the whole wing profile, Nick?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. And then the airplane rolled right as its nose dropped and dove towards the warehouse where it collided in a fireball. So in that part of the flight, seems like the speed must have deteriorated below that 85 knots that they were on downwind, and perhaps it just ended up stalling and falling out of the sky into the furniture warehouse.
Yep.
Okay. And then, so it also talks about in the prelim here that Van's Aircraft issued a service bulletin in January of 2010 directing owners to install a safety latch assembly for the door or doors, which includes an aluminum hook that engages as the door's edge comes within range prior to full closure. Installation was directed before further flight, quoting the service bulletin. The gull wing doors on both sides of an RV-10 are secured by top hinges and locking pins at the bottom of the frame, forward and aft. The secondary latch mounted on the bottom of the door frame was added to the original design and made standard on all kits shipped on or after January 4, 2010. Reed, who received his first kit components in 2007 and completed the build in 2011, was shipped a safety latch kit on January 25, 2010, the NTSB report notes. While many general aviation aircraft can fly relatively undisturbed by a door opening in flight, the RV-10 is a different story. Online discussions among RV-10 builders and owners have noted the danger of an open door departing the aircraft in flight and striking the horizontal stabilizer, rendering the aircraft uncontrollable. Pilots who have experienced an RV-10 door opening in flight have described the event as violent and disruptive. The NTSB report does note that the pilot Reed made some modifications to the door design, including replacement of aluminum locking pins with steel pins, and more significantly, the absence of 2 of the 4 magnetic switches included in the kit that trigger LED indication lights that confirm that the door is locked. As such, the modified system would not have warned the pilot if the forward latch pins had failed to fully engage, the report states. Investigators found the left door handle short of the locked position. When they moved the handle forward, the pins extended nearly half an inch further, and the locking button engaged. All right. Discuss.
So obviously, I think the most, the thing that is probably the most obvious here is that it's an experimental airplane, which it's hard for me to. I don't always have a good feeling for how well people in other countries understand our experimental aircraft rules, but you know, in the United States, we have this section of aviation where aircraft don't have to comply with type certificates and follow all of the standard rules that certificated aircraft certified aircraft have to follow. And this is an example where, you know, if this was a certified airplane, basically the process that this would have followed would have been vans, or like if it was a certified airplane like a Beech or a Cessna, they would have said, oh, we have this issue, here's how you solve the issue, and they would have created and provided the kit to the airplane owners under a service bulletin, which is mandatory for people who are operating the airplane for hire, but not mandatory for Part 91 operation of the airplane. But then if the level of concern rises to the point where the FAA feels that it becomes mandatory, then the FAA steps in and says, makes it an airworthiness directive. So then that requires all operators of that type of airplane to implement the change. When you go into the experimental side of experimental aircraft side of things, there is essentially a lot less oversight in how the airplanes continue to operate. I hesitate to say that is, there are a lot of very well maintained experimental airplanes. And a lot of times if you put a certified airplane and an experimental airplane next to each other, a lot of times the craftsmanship on an experimental airplane might be higher than the certified airplane, because there are people, the person who built it was really passionate about it. But there are areas where if you have people that are not, I don't even know how to say it. Not necessarily not acting in the best interest of safety, but this is a case where this guy did nothing legally wrong by not installing that latch, but it seems like it's a scenario where he could have avoided this outcome by following the manufacturer's guidance. So unfortunate in that sense, and also pretty common, unfortunately more common than it should be to see aircraft accidents and sometimes even fatalities that result from doors opening. I think I've talked about it in the past. It's really common in the airplane that I fly, the Debonairs and Bonanzas, that the door will pop open on takeoff. And in terms of aircraft performance, it is essentially a negligible event. So much so that when I did my transition training, we did it. We didn't even simulate it or anything. My instructor just popped the door open, and we did the full process, which is just continue to fly the airplane, fly it around the pattern, come back and land. Most airplanes with basically forward hinged doors, the door will open up and it'll fly in trail with just a couple inches open. So there's a startle factor, I guess, from the noise and the wind that causes a lot of incidents. With this accident, obviously it's a little different with the way the door opened and the severity of the door opening and departing the airframe. But it still seems a little unclear whether the result of the flight was because the door opened and affected the controllability of the airplane, or came off and affected the controllability of the airplane, or if, the airplane was already in the rapid descent before the door came off. So,
yeah. I guess this kind of reminds me, it wasn't a Mooney accident that also, or the Mooney is kind of susceptible to this kind of thing. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Errol in our live audience says Van states that the RV-10 stall speed is 63 miles per hour, which is 55 knots. Not sure if that's VSO or VS1. And the other thing he mentioned was that it's the RV-10 is a 2/3 scale SR-22.
I'm not sure. They're very similar looking airplanes. I think they're the same size because they're both 4-seat airplanes, and the SR-22 uses the Continental 550, I think, and the RV-10 uses the Lycoming 540. But
okay, everybody knows that.
Well, no, but I'm just saying there's minor differences, but his comment about it being a scale version, I think if you park two of them next to each other, they'd look almost the same. So
okay,
I understand that.
iHaul Boxes says, if normal U.S. aviators are cowboys, then the EAA members must sure be Bronco busters. Yeah.
So the
anyway.
SR-22, that was a precursor to the SR-71?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, about 51 before it. Yeah.
Many years
Something like
later and some numbers before. So I'm not sure how that works.
Yeah. So it's interesting. That was a prelim. I'm sure that they'll have a final determination eventually. So will definitely follow this and let you know what they think. But it sounds pretty clear to me that well, I guess, as you said, it could have been that the door fell off and caused control problems, but more than likely just handling the aircraft with this in-flight emergency may have been what, in inattention to airspeed control, etc., caused the pilot to not.
I think you read it, but I was interested that the article mentioned that specifically discussions amongst RV-10 builders and owners have noted that a door opening in flight has been described as violent and disruptive. Because Nick Camacho was saying, in the aircraft that I fly, pretty much all of them, if a door pops open, it's a non-event. And maybe I'm just used to the door being open because that's a lot of the flying I do.
They're always
I
open.
barely even notice.
What? Wait, they close? What?
Yeah, I had no idea that you could actually close a door. But and I don't know. I've definitely flown the Cirrus aircraft, not had a door open issue there, but off the top of my head, I don't remember if they're, because of the door design, if they're similar in terms of the amount of disruption to flying. I would think not. I don't remember that even being discussed when I was flying that for a few hours a few years ago. So.
Yeah, I'd be more curious. They outlined a couple of things that he did or didn't do with regard to the standard kit construction. I doubt we'll ever find out, but I'd be curious. I could understand if the latch solution didn't come out until after he had completed his airplane or nearly completed his airplane, and there was some trepidation about retrofitting his airplane with the latch, but it discussed the essentially like an LED warning system that he only installed a portion of. So I would be curious about why those decisions were made, I guess.
Yeah. All right. Well, an interesting one and a tragic one again. I mean, most of these stories that we cover on the show are tragic in some way or another. That's the loss of life, even one, or, in this case, the guy was with his teenage daughter. That's just so sad. And then, of course, you multiply that by many, many times in the DC mid-air collision. And then, of course, it wasn't long before that we were talking about this horrific crash in South Korea where only 2 of 180 something people survived that crash. And it's interesting because I'm sure that we all experienced this, those of us on the panel and also those of you listening, that when something like this DC crash occurs, that's what everybody wants to talk about. And it's kind of odd to me because I'm thinking, well, we doing this podcast every week, we have some tragic event and loss of life thing. And I'm thinking they probably don't even know that a 737 jam-packed full of passengers crashed in South Korea. But because it's just not on the radar screen, right? Because it's like on the other side of the world, and who cares, right? Am I swinging back to that? Is there something in here that we have? Oh, okay. Yeah, we can do that. We do. No, you give me too much credit, Liz. She thought I was doing an amazing segue into a preliminary report on the Jeju crash in South Korea. Yeah, and I wish I could tell you that I was that clever, but I was not. But since you have directed me to it, why don't we cover that next from the Aviation Herald? We have an update on the Jeju crash in Muwon, South Korea, that occurred on the 29th of December last year. Let's see, and this is the preliminary report. Okay. Not a lot in it, but the thing that I'll read it. The flight data recorder and cockpit voice recorder were installed in the airplane. However, both recordings stopped at 8:58 and 50 seconds on December 29, 2024. The airplane impacted with the embankment at 9:02:57, meaning the last 4 minutes, 7 seconds of the recordings were missing. The airplane speed and pressure altitude when the recorders stopped were 161 knots and 498 feet, respectively. The pilots identified a group of birds while approaching runway 1, and a security camera filmed the airplane coming close to a group of birds during a go-around. Both engines were examined, and feathers and bird blood stains were found on each engine. The samples were sent to specialized organizations for DNA analysis, and we know that that's called SNARG, that were sent for DNA analysis. And a domestic organization identified them as belonging to Baikal teals. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right or not. I hope that I still have that video of these teals, which I thought was very interesting. Hang on, bear with me on this. I think I must have removed it. But I can still show it to you in a different way. Okay. So this is the video, not the final product that you're going to hear on the audio only podcast. I won't include any of this stuff in it because it's boring. So we can talk, if you guys want to talk about something that's not going to be on the podcast, go ahead. While I find this.
No, I was just thinking about your comments that you were making in your non-segue to this story about how it captures attention. Interesting comments in a discussion with someone earlier this week about, the reason aviation tragedies like these get our attention so much is because, there's all kinds of other things that are accidents, incidents, things like that, but stuff that's more ground-based is perhaps more forgiving. So when something like this happens in aviation, obviously it comes with a lot more potential for loss of life, just due to the unforgiving nature of something happening. But that said, fortunately, these stories really are few and far between in comparison to a lot of things that happen in, on roads or in other forms of transportation, because the safety standards are so high. So
yep.
I was just thinking about that conversation.
Good point. No, apparently that was one of those things on my non-existent list of things to do. I didn't accomplish.
Is a teal a kind of duck? Because I can kind of go.
Yeah, that basically does it. That's a great reenactment of the teals that were flying around. Nick, not really. No.
Are these teals
okay,
like
well, I can't do everything. I try. Okay, so
are they
I'm
like
actually
herons? Because they don't have very pleasant sounding calls. Like they're beautiful birds, and then they just sound so unpleasant.
What, the teal?
The herons.
Oh, the herons.
I was wondering if the teals were like herons. I don't know why the name reminds me of something that would look like a heron. But I could be totally wrong. I don't know what a teal is. I was hoping to see this video.
Yeah, so I'm going to show it to you.
I guess I could
because
Google
I think it's
search it
important
and
to see this, because most of us think of a flock of birds as like a few birds, but this is pretty amazing. This video of the teals flocking, or whatever they call this. What did you call that, Liz? A murmuration.
They do look more like a duck, though.
Yeah, definitely duck-like.
Yeah, hence Captain
Quite
Nick's
pretty, though.
sound effect.
Some very pretty markings.
Okay, let's see. Let me see if I can find you all. Oh, there you are. Present, I should say, video file. And now it's just a matter of me finding where I put it. I think I recall. I know, it's amazing. Okay, Here we go. All right. Are you ready for the video that was
This
included?
better be good after this long wait.
I know. It's going to be a letdown, I'm sure. Look at that.
Oh.
Oh my God, it's a blizzard.
It's a wall of birds.
Yeah, it is. Boy, oh boy.
And what was this called? The movement of these birds?
A murmuration.
Murmuration.
Yeah, where they're doing all these flying together and swirling around and.
As I recall, we used to have a map of the areas where the teals lived, and arrows indicating their regular routes of movement. Several of which went straight across the flight path, the approach to the runways. So, if that lot flew in front of you, yeah, I can see why you'd try and go around, but
exactly,
you couldn't outclimb them.
I mean, again, in my mind, I wasn't thinking anything like this. That's just amazing. The number of birds and the density, I guess, of the flock. Lots of snarge for sure. Yeah. Okay. So thank you for bearing with me on me finding that video, but I think that was worth us talking about and showing you. And the other thing that I thought was kind of interesting, and I think I heard people mention this in a couple of different places in this preliminary report. They talked about, and I don't know if it's a translation issue or if they really meant to say it this way, but they said it almost makes it sound like they said the camera filmed this airplane coming close to a group of birds during a go around, and some of the communications that before everything went dead kind of mention, at least their translation of these communications between the pilots and the air traffic controllers, is that they said they were going around, and then during the go around is when they hit the birds. I kind of initially thought that, and maybe it's still the case, that they hit the birds and then they went around. But it almost sounds like they're saying that they were given the warning about the birds, and thinking, and they may have saw what we just saw in that video and thought, oh yeah, we better not continue. So they initiate a go around, and then during the go around is when they hit the birds, which might explain why the gear was retracted and the flaps were retracted, because that was maybe part of their go around procedure. See what I'm saying? It's like,
oh yeah, absolutely. I'm with you 100%, Jeff. And because I, like you, thought they probably hit the birds, and then we were wondering why they went around at that point. And that we were discussing possibly, I wonder if they shut down the wrong engine. But no, I think I'm settling like you on the idea that they saw the birds ahead, decided to go around. The birds might have, blossomed up in front of them as they were performing the go around, took out both engines and left them, with nowhere to go.
Right. That seems more likely. Yeah. All right. Metro Doc in our live audience. I'm sorry.
Well, it's an interesting question, Metro.
I was going to say, it still is an interesting question.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
my bad.
okay. Metro Doc, not Tim, says, why would they put an airport around all these bird sanctuaries?
Well, it's for the bird watchers, of course, so they can fly in.
I mean, I can, and I'm saying this without knowing how long that airport has been there, but, if you go back historically, perhaps the airport was either much smaller or occupying a footprint that wasn't quite so close to the habitat of these birds. But sometimes it's just conflict of interest too,
Well, clearly the airport was there long before any birds were.
Before the birds moved in next door and started complaining about the noise from the airplanes.
Oh, wait a minute.
No.
Never mind.
One of our prime ministers suggested building a kind of floating airport in the middle of the Thames estuary, which is notorious for all the birds that live there.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, well done, Boris. sometimes these things are poorly thought out. Sometimes, as Steph says, they grow up to the point where, you can't get rid of the birds, but you just have to try and mitigate the danger they perform. And of course, if you try and wipe out several bird colonies to make the airport safe, people are going to go up in arms nowadays. So you just try and keep flying and hope for the best, and try to, perhaps not fly when they're doing their general movements, which is generally dawn and dusk is when they move from their nesting area or their sleeping area to their feeding areas. So, there are ways of getting around the problem. But, when you've got flocks of birds that big right in front of a, runway, you go, whoa, I wouldn't like to have to operate in there.
Well, Captain Nigel in our live audience says, Jeju is a honeymoon island. Where else do you put an airport?
Ooh, yes. I didn't know that, Nigel.
No, I didn't either.
How many honeymoons have you had there?
I don't know. Okay, Tim Van Ram, we finally found a competent comment from him. The Pacific I'm just kidding, Tim. The Pacific Flyway in the Central Valley of California often looks exactly like that murmuration. Sacramento International Airport is in the vicinity of great bird flights. Yes, Sacramento is notorious for bird strikes, and I used to fly in and out of there quite often back in the 90s. That was always a big deal. They're flying into that airport. All right. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's do that, Liz. That's H. Okay, then we're going to end with a more, well, I don't know if it's a somewhat lighthearted, I guess, because nothing bad really happened. Could have happened, but it didn't. This, of course, we have to have one from Paddle Your Own Canoe. Here it is. A couple narrowly avoided devastating injuries after a watermelon-sized block of ice that fell from a JetBlue plane and crashed through their bedroom ceiling. I probably didn't read that headline very well, but you get the idea. A couple narrowly avoided. No, here, I'm not going to read that again. That's the couple bought their dream home in the Inglewood neighborhood of Los Angeles, which is close to LAX, Los Angeles International, in early 2020. And put in hours of work to renovate the property and make it the dream property that they had hoped to live in for many years to come. Now, however, Michael Reese and Leah Fararini say they are terrified of going to sleep in their own bed and feel unsafe in their home because they are so scared that another plane might send a block of ice crashing into the property, potentially killing them. The January 2024, so a year ago or a little over a year ago, incident has now come to light after Michael and Leah filed a lawsuit against JetBlue in the Superior Court of the state of California, accusing JetBlue of negligence because this wasn't the first time that the exact same plane had dropped a block of ice onto someone's house. In fact, an investigation by the Federal Aviation Administration revealed that the 7-year-old Airbus A321 airplane had a history of potable water issues, that's potable, not potable, issues that had caused an ice block to form and drop from the underbelly of the aircraft. JetBlue should have been aware of the serious nature of this defect as early as July of 2023, the lawsuit alleges, because this is when the first ice block fell from the plane and onto a residential property in Shirley, Massachusetts. Don't call me Shirley. Rather than properly investigating the issue, however, the lawsuit claims that JetBlue kept the aircraft in service without getting to the root cause of the problem. If the airline had carried out a more in-depth investigation, it would have found an issue with the potable water valve and drain. This issue was only discovered a month after the January 2024 incident, when JetBlue ordered its repair vendor to carry out an in-depth investigation. JetBlue had been on notice for months prior to January 2024, yet failed to conduct an investigation as to the problems with the potable water system valve and drain. The complaint against the New York-based airline alleges had JetBlue done so after being on notice that there was a problem. As early as July 2023, the discharge of the large block of ice on plaintiffs' homes would not have occurred. Not only did the incident cause severe damage to Michael and Leah's home, but it has also had a profound and long-lasting effect on their mental health, with the couple saying that they now cringe and fear every time a plane flies overhead. At certain times of day, airplanes fly over their house at low altitude every 5 minutes. As well as suing JetBlue for negligence over the failure to properly investigate and fix the potable water issue with its plane under California law. Michael and Leah are also bringing an action against the airline for trespass, saying that they never gave JetBlue permission to send a chunk of ice hurtling through their bedroom ceiling.
That is ridiculous.
I can understand the maintenance concern. Yeah, go ahead, Nick.
Was it JetBlue water that froze?
JetBlue ice, yeah.
Yeah, so nice bit of JetBlue water. And how many inches was it? Was it like 7,947 inches from their heads?
Well, inches, yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know how many inches are in a mile.
Yeah.
Well, it came through the roof of their home, though. Yeah, so you have to. It sounds like they got pretty close. And a watermelon, watermelon's a pretty good size chunk of ice, I think.
Yeah. I mean, undoubtedly it's a thing, and it's definitely engineers should not take this lightly when you snag it, because those water drains, the heaters have to work. Otherwise, this is a very regular occurrence.
My question would be, if I were a lawyer in that courtroom, would be, did you have signs posted? No trespassing, ice, no ice trespassing.
No,
I don't think so.
Oh, I like that. No blue water, I trespass.
It was JetBlue, but it wasn't blue water though, because it was an Airbus A321 and it was from the potable water, and I don't think blue water is potable by definition. Drinking
I hope
water.
not.
Well, I think by the time it freezes and falls off an airplane, it's not potable anymore. Because I wouldn't pote it.
You wouldn't pote it.
I'm just thinking about the precedent this would set. Can you imagine people would have the world's largest class action lawsuit against God if they were able to sue someone for
unwelcome
ice
my roof
falling?
Again. It's raining.
Yeah.
I didn't
Good
give
luck
God permission
collecting.
to drop that hail on my
Good luck
roof.
collecting.
Tree to fall over
I
on
love
my
it.
Yeah.
property.
Micah's got a good point here, Jeff.
Micah has a good point. Glad to see you're doing well, Micah. Let's see, but not quite as heavy if it's a seedless watermelon. Oh,
Right.
good point.
Anyway, I
Good
just
point.
like that trespass.
Yeah, that was a good one. Thank you, Liz.
Okay.
Am I the only one that's hearing Liz like in an echo
I was
chamber?
about to say.
Yeah, Liz is okay.
Could we?
What is
the
I
chat
don't know
room
why.
hearing Liz? Are you like?
Yeah, are we
I
hearing
don't
Liz on
think
the
so.
video?
No, she's muted. I don't think we're hearing her. On the
Yeah,
video.
I looked at that. Yeah, that's. Oh, yeah,
that's
it
better.
sounds like you're in an auditorium. Weird. Okay, well,
It's a little better now.
yeah.
Was
okay.
it when you
the
had
chat
that
room was hearing
video?
you, so I don't
Oh,
know.
was it? Oh.
Oh, it's on the actual. Oh boy. Oh boy. No, you
She
didn't
did
say anything
not.
bad.
I was listening
just
just in case because I wasn't sure why we were hearing an echo.
Nope. I think that was me. I think I had my. I think one time when I got up, I changed my settings,
so we're getting
it
a
was
little
coming through my microphone. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Sorry.
Okay, yeah. Now it doesn't. Now I don't hear it. And yeah, thanks for adding more work from
I definitely
post-editing.
just ruined Jeff's life.
No
for
problem.
at least 4 hours.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, let's get to know us for sure. Here we go. getting to know us. It's that time of the show where we get to find out what everybody's been up to between episodes. And it's one of my favorite segments of the show. Who wants to start off?
I think Steph should, because I'm looking at her having trodden in the world's biggest cow pat.
Yeah, that looks pretty nasty.
That looks disgusting. I want to know exactly what that is.
Exactly what that is? Well, maybe we should show the picture first, and then I will do a description for the audio version.
That's exactly what I thought too, Nick. When I saw that picture, I went, oh my gosh, that does not look like it smells very good.
No, it does not.
Fortunately, nothing to do with animal
excrement.
Excrement, or I was going
to say, human excrement.
Nice way
that's even worse.
Nothing to do with any sort of post-production consumed things. Anyway, no, that's just mud, fortunately. So the picture that they're referencing is a pair of, or one of my shoes that I took off, which is caked in mud and dirt all along the bottom. So the only thing I've done since I talked to you guys last that's of any note was this 5K or 5K-ish, because I think everyone's watch recorded a short distance. It wasn't quite the 5 kilometers, but that's okay because it was tough.
Don't tell her.
So in this picture, the sky looks very blue. It looks like a nice day. It's like, why is there all this mud? Well, it rained quite hard the night before, and the trail that this race took place on is it's basically just dirt. And anytime it rains on these trails, they get quite muddy and sloshy, and there had not been enough time elapsed to allow for any drying, really. So it was quite slippery. The trails are quite narrow, quite steep in a lot of places. My only goal during this race was just to not fall. So I didn't go for any particular time.
Yeah.
But there were quite a lot of people who fell around me. My biggest concern actually started to become that someone was going to fall into me, because it was that much of a slip and slide event.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was still fun though. So this was the Frigid 5K at the U.S. National Whitewater Center near my house here. And the appeal of the event is that after the race, then you jump in a cold pool. This is the video. So I have video of this.
Setting it up.
I've done this one a couple of years ago as well. This pool is not heated in any way, shape, or form. It's actually I think the pool is actually 20 feet deep at its deepest part. So it's fairly a sizable volume of water, even though it doesn't look like it in the video. It's surrounded by rock climbing walls. So you can do, they call it deep water solo. So you can do rock climbing on these walls, and then when you let go of the wall, instead of being on a rope or a belay or anything like that, you just come down
fall into icy water.
Well, normally this is only open in the summer, but once a year for this race, they open it in February, and the poor lifeguards
for these crazy
have to work,
people.
I'm sure they're just going, please make it out of the pool. Like, I do not want to have to jump in here after you, because best guess is that water is probably low to mid 40 degree Fahrenheit, so somewhere below 10 degrees Celsius. Maybe 5 degrees. I don't know. It's pretty chilly. So I think we have video of this is me jumping in the pool after the.
Okay.
So fortunately, the air temperature was quite good. Yeah, you can go ahead and play it.
Here we go.
There's nothing to listen to really. It's just mostly visual, so good for the audio podcast here. But here we go, jumping in.
Jumping in the pool.
And swim.
How fast can I swim?
Your reaction.
And I knew it was cold. So here's the funny thing. So I'm kind of in the middle of the pool there. For some reason, I got directed down to they had like 9 different stations set up. They had a whole bunch of lifeguards because there were a whole bunch of people doing this. But closer to the edge of the pool, it's probably a good 2 or 3 meters shorter of a distance to swim. And this guy gives me number 9, and I'm looking and I'm like, wait, I got a lot farther to swim to get out of this cold water. So that was great.
They're picking on you.
But did the race with my youngest brother, and one of my friends from med school came up to do it as well, and we all did the cold plunge.
So wait, before we go, I just want to go ahead. Are you hearing the audio from this movie when I play it?
Yeah.
Okay, I want you to listen to Steph. Got to listen closely to her exclamation. Coming up here right about now. Oh!
I think I did say, oh.
She didn't swear, so that's good. I'm
Nope.
impressed.
Nope.
Okay, so you can take it now, Liz.
Nope, that's fine. Oh, that's fine. This was our pre-jump in the pool picture, so that's why we're smiling so much in this picture. But there you can kind of see the pool. So it's very long, it's very deep. It's narrower on the ends and wider in the middle, which my friend Karen's head is kind of blocking that view of. But yeah,
I was gonna say that looks like Karen.
that is Karen. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
Well, it was a nice sunny day, if nothing else.
the air temperature was great. Water temperature was not, but the air temperature ended up being almost 60 degrees, I think, on Saturday. It was very nice. We then went and had lunch outside and enjoyed the
Made the water temperature feel even worse then, basically.
Yeah, well, especially since we ran and we did get fairly warm and kind of sweaty. I was like, okay, now we should go jump in. But then someone, not me, but one of those other two, I will not mention who, wanted to run to their vehicle first to retrieve dry clothes and towel and requested that we wait so we could all go together, and we cooled off a bit. So I'm not bitter or upset about that at all. It's just,
Doesn't sound like it.
It's just part of what happened that day. It's fine. It's all
Okay.
good.
All right. Very good. Anything else?
No, that's it. That's all I did.
Okay.
So the only interesting thing I did, everything else was just paperwork at home. Yeah, not exciting.
Yeah. Very good. Very good. Nick Camacho. Great to have you with us again. This is 2 in a row, I think.
Yep.
All right.
Good to be here. Well, I flew my airplane this week. I think that's relevant since it's
That's
a
aviation show.
podcast. Yeah. Obviously, as we've talked about, it's my putting a new engine in my airplane, and just for a variety of reasons, it took me longer than I had hoped, and also had a significant amount of trepidation leading up to this, just with how much work it was to get to where we were at, and then the expense associated with it. So if anything went wrong, or if I did anything wrong or made any mistakes, I was a little bit nervous about that, but finally got it going, ran it and flew it on Sunday, did the first flight, and I hoped to fly it throughout this week with kind of like a outside goal or outside chance of flying it down to Texas next week for work. And unfortunately, the weather has just turned horrible here. So it was kind of sleety, icy rain all day today, and about 500 to 2,000 foot overcast yesterday. So I haven't been able to get back out, but I'm hoping tomorrow looks decent. So I'm hoping to fly a little more tomorrow, and then 1 or 2 more flights around the immediate vicinity of my airport, and then start doing some long out and back legs to get the engine broken in. So,
very good.
Good job. Excited about that.
Must be a great feeling. Yeah.
Yep.
Great feeling to have that thing flying again. And the fact that it was running and didn't stop running when you were flying it.
Right.
Always.
And the doors stayed closed and everything.
Oh, yeah.
It was, it was kind of this like funny pyramid of anticipation / stress / pressure as we were like getting ready to run it, and then taxiing out to the runway. And it was like pushing the power up was like maximum amount of, well, this is the last time, this is my last chance to get out of this situation if I need to. But then by the time we got to the end of the runway, the engine was running really well. The gear came up fine. And then it got back to the point where I was just like, man, this is such a neat airplane to fly. So had a good flight after that.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I really loved the part of the video where you broke opened the champagne and you guys were like toasting with champagne.
Yep.
And I probably shouldn't have said that. Sorry.
Good thing it's a audio podcast, so nobody else can see that part of the video.
It was post-flight.
Yeah, that's what I meant to say. After you stopped flying for the day. Yeah.
Airplane is secured, tied down in the hangar. All that good stuff.
Just kidding, folks. He didn't have a drop of alcohol. Yeah, I just made all that up. So yeah, congrats. That's cool. So you said next week you're going to be in Texas, so you're going to probably not be able to make it for our next episode. We'll miss you.
Texas doesn't have internet?
I think that's probably true.
No,
usually when my job pays for me to go somewhere, they expect me to work.
Yeah.
While I'm
24 hours a day.
What?
I guess I could piggyback off of that and let you guys know
this
that
is
I'll be,
so I'm not. I'm starting to get the feeling that Nick maybe doesn't understand how time zones work, but this is kind of like in the middle of me and Steph's work day right now.
Well, I was going to piggyback off of your travel news and just let everyone know that I'll be conferencing next week.
You crept into my sleeping time.
Sorry.
So.
I know.
You're conferencing
next week. I'm conferencing, but this year the
Aw.
conference is even one time zone farther away than it usually is. So I'm going to be in the Tahoe area, which I'm actually very excited about because I've never really been to Tahoe, and yeah, I'm excited. It should be really nice. I hope. I'm still in the middle of knee recovery stuff, so I won't be skiing a lot, but I hope to at least get a little bit of elevation to.
Oh, I thought you'd just be
nice
in the
views
Tahoe
of-
area because of the nice rarefied air helps your brains think better and
Melt down.
no.
Yeah, especially at
Nothing to do with
the social
It's
gatherings
science, yeah.
after
Yeah,
the conference.
I wish you
ends.
luck, Steph, so break a leg.
Thanks. Useful.
Well,
My
thanks.
orthopedic doc will be thrilled to hear that. No.
All
good to
right.
go, so.
All right. Very good. Captain Nick.
Yeah, as if I haven't got enough on, I walk my lovely dogs on a big arming ground, as I might have mentioned in the past. And, it's just nice to stay in with the army guys because, it's a privilege to be able to use that great, lovely piece of countryside. So I had a word with one of the dog handlers who we have become friends with. He's got something like 6 Springer Spaniels and Cocker Spaniels and cross Cumberlands and all this kind of stuff. So he's a great Spaniel fan. Anyway, turns out that they needed some photographs taking at the dog handling section. So that's what I've been doing the last few days. And I've got about 2,000 pictures. I know it's huge, isn't it? That's Rambo. It's fascinating watching these guys with their dogs. These are the sort of dogs that will chase you down and bring you to the ground with big ugly teeth. So they're lovely animals, but we were in a sort of enclosed compound while we just went round a few of the obstacles they train on. And they weren't allowed to let the dogs off the leash because I was in there with them. So I was going, yeah, are you sure? Because they look fine. They go, well, we just don't want there to be an accident, okay? Because they can cause a lot of damage. Anyway, it was great fun.
Yeah, the last photographer didn't do well. Yeah.
Yes, right. Yeah. Yes, I know. You see that little mound over there? Yeah, that's where we put him. So I know I've been having great fun with that, and I've now got the slightly tedious job of going wheeling out all the rubbish pictures out of the gems that are bound, hopefully there. Anyway, so that's been me very busy. God, my legs are tired. They're not used to all this running around. So there you go. What else is happening? Sadly, the commanding officer of my very first squadron has passed away, and I suspect it'll be a fantastic sort of meeting of all the pilots and navigators from that first tour of mine at his funeral. So I'm very sad it's happened, but I'm rather looking forward to heading up to where it's being held in an old abbey. So that'll be good, and I'm sure we'll meet up with a few friends there from 43 Squadron. So really looking forward to that. And really, that's kind of been it this week. My wife is away next few days for her not her funeral, but she's having a funeral, or going to a funeral.
Attending
this
a
without
funeral.
making it sound like I've done away
Attending
with
someone
the
else's
wife.
funeral.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. She's disappearing. I'm having to fend for myself the next few days. I know. I'll be down the pub having a meal every night with my dogs. That'll be super. Last week's artwork, we had a few suggestions. Of course, we had that very sad crash in DC. A lot of reference to things between your legs. The wind generator army, I can't remember what that was. And the treasury is rubbish. I don't know what that was either. But
The website.
Okay. Yes, all right. That's good. We ended up with, certainly for me, the Smoky Aeroplane and FU.
No, Foo Smoke. Foo Smoke.
FU Smoke. And of course, I can say that without being rude, saying FU, because it is the meteorological code for visibility that is reduced for smoke. So if you see FU in your code, you know there's smoke around on the airfield. Anyway, so we got a smoky aeroplane. If you're a hunter of the hidden gems, the little special things we have, flat on the taxiway in front of the aeroplane, not very easy to see, it's designed that way, is the logo. All right, so it's
nice.
That caused Liz a few problems, but she did find the show number, which is hidden amongst the clouds in a very slender font underneath the end of the show title and just above the winglet of whatever weird airplane it is that the AI generator produced. So there you go.
The visibility obstruction was so bad that even the title looks like it's not, it's fuzzy. It's hard to see clearly.
That was partly on purpose, and the other thing I tried to do was to do a dot matrix font, because of course many airlines like Delta, they were all a bunch of cheapskates, still use dot matrix printers.
We bought the entire world supply of dot matrix printers and paper.
Exactly. They're still churning out all those reams and reams of papers. They're
going to use them for another 100 years, I think.
Yes. But that's what we all had to use in the old days, dot matrix printers. I think there are a certain generation who've probably never seen the result of a dot matrix printer.
Or the noise that they make.
Was about. Yes, horrendous. Yes, indeed.
Yeah. I've been doing my normal residing in my house on wheels, the Road Vessel Studio. Was in over the weekend, I was in a hotel for Saturday night. And then, of course, I did my normal singing. Did I do more than I think it was just a regular kind of singing over the last weekend. No, it was a special, First Communion. So I did 3 masses on Saturday and only 2 on Sunday, because the children's choir sang at the earlier mass at 9:00, so I only had to do the 10:45 and the 12:15. So that was kind of nice. Got a chance to sleep in, and and then I went over to a campground over on the lake to the northwest of Atlanta, Allatoona Lake, or Lake Allatoona. It's where Dana is out there in his boat. and where we had a nice crew retreat a few years back. That was a lot of fun. And so I was there for 3 nights, and then just made the move from that lake over here back to Lake Lanier, my favorite lake up here in north of Atlanta, and back at one of my favorite campgrounds, Shady Grove. And it's a beautiful place. It's pitch black now outside. You can't really see anything, but it's a beautiful view. And that's about it. I'm going to be singing again this weekend, and the normal singing routine. Oh, I'll have a couple of funeral masses to sing at tomorrow and Friday. So that'll round out the week for me. Yeah, so that is pretty much it for me. All right, coffee fund time. Let me find the button for that. All right, there it is.
Johnny, how much more coffee? No thanks.
I love coffee. I love tea. I love the APG community. Coffee and tea and the Java and me. A cup, a cup, a cup, a cup, a cup. Oh yeah, I had to really concentrate because Liz, your audio was coming in louder than Jeff Smith's. And no, that's fine. It was like, oh, you're really messing with my brain. Okay, Coffee Fund. We have a couple of different ways to contribute financially to the show, and by joining the Coffee Bar Club. And so two different ways. We have the Coffee Fund Classic method for most of the people that use that is one-off contributions every now and then kind of thing. And we had this person contribute to the Coffee Fund Classic. Sasha Zvalensky, I think is the way you'd pronounce that, Zvalensky. And he sent in, I think, the largest contribution, or one of the largest contributions I've seen. Thank you very much for that very generous contribution, sir. And I believe he owns a landscape company out in California, San Luis Obispo area that Nick Camacho is very familiar with. And then I was looking at our new patrons since the last episode, and guess what? Sasha, he signed up to be an assistant senior executive producer. That's the second highest tier of contributors or patrons, and that just blows me away. In addition to that beautifully generous contribution that he made using the Coffee Fund Classic method. So thank you so much, Sasha. You are like the contributor of the week and contributor extraordinaire of the show. So thank you very, very much for that. Now, I looked for a note. I didn't see one. So if you want to send a note in sometime and tell us more about you and all that and your interest in aviation, we'd love to hear it. So thank you again for becoming a patron. And if you want to join Sasha and all the other wonderful people out there who are part of the Coffee Bar Club, you can do that by heading over to our website, airlinepilotguy.com, finding the coffee tab, or you can just say airlinepilotguy.com/coffee, and it'll take you right there and give you all the information on how you can also become a contributor. Thanks so much for considering it. And I think if you do it, you'll be glad you did. And we will too. All right. Okay. Okey-doke. Good deal. So it sounds like we'll be able to hit a few. Knock some out. Yeah. Yeah, we'll have to wait for the rest of the crew who's they're on strike. I think they're waiting for more another increase in their paychecks.
Well, I seem to recall you gave all our advances to Nick last time.
Yeah, but with the latest contribution from Sasha, I might be able to, we'll be a little bit more generous to you guys. Okay, let's press ahead with some feedback.
Captain, incoming message.
Thank you. All right. We're going to start our feedback segment with this couple, actually, from Roberta in Canada, British Columbia. Victoria. I've not been there. I hear it's a beautiful city. I look forward to checking it out.
I have. It's lovely.
Is it?
Yeah.
All right. She says, hi, Jeff, Nick, Dr. Steph, Liz, and any other crew present. I can't tell you how excited I was to hear my first feedback live on the show, number 642. My catch-up on old APG episodes is now at number 553, enjoying it all. It is kind of fun, isn't it? I used to, before I did my own podcast, I'd send in feedback to other podcasts that I listened to, and it was always so much fun to hear them mention my name and read out my feedback or play out my audio. It's exciting. I agree. Okay, continuing with her feedback. I love spotting interesting things around airports on Flight Radar 24, and I recently saw something that really puzzled me. The unusual shapes I saw were located adjacent to the touchdown zone of runway 28 at Cherbourg Maupertus Airport. How would you say that? I know I didn't do well on that one. You'd say it would be very, yeah. Okay. I can't think why I was looking at this airport. Maybe there was a squawk alert that drew me there. What I observed were 9 circular pads arranged in a half circle connected by a taxiway. They look what I imagine might be helicopter parking spots or something of the like, and she attached a screenshot. Afterwards, I couldn't stop thinking what they might be. After a lot of digging, I was able to discover that this must be what is referred to as a circular Marguerite system of hard stands, a remnant of the Cold War. I had half expected to find out that these were left over from World War II, so this was a bit of a surprise. I've included a brief summary with details of what I learned. I'm interested in knowing if any of the crew have ever heard of these structures or have seen them, or other interesting things you've seen at airports in real life. And as she leaves us, she's humming the APG song. Again, Roberta from Victoria. And then she sent in an article regarding these strange shapes, which we'll have in the show notes. But anybody ever see one of these arrangements? I don't think I have.
No, nothing like that.
I haven't.
No. Nick? Oh,
he seems to be frozen.
I think he's sharpening a pencil.
Like with an old school, like.
What was that noise?
and he's very
like
focused
a little
on
electric
it.
sharpener. Yeah, I heard that too. But it almost looks like a crown almost, or something, like a half circle.
Oh no! Let's don't tell him. Yeah, he's on a fiber. The fiber must have snapped.
Not enough fiber. You gotta consider.
Yeah, not enough fiber. Ooh, that might be a good show title. I love that. Not enough fiber. I love it. Well, you know what? I have a feeling that Nick probably has seen these, but we'll see when he rejoins us.
More common in Europe land, I would guess.
Probably, yeah. Well, Roberta also sent us this, and she's into these airport puzzlers. This one in Warsaw. There might, I like the, hi Jeff, Steph, double Nicks, and Liz. There might not be anything to see here, but I have to ask. Each time I open Flight Radar 24, I look to see the most tracked flights. Today I saw a Warsaw, which is Whiskey Alpha Whiskey, to Quebec, Yankee Alpha Bravo flight that had just departed at 1 o'clock local time. Being Canadian, I was intrigued as this did not seem on first glance to be a normal flight. It turned out to be a Royal Canada Air Force aircraft, RCAF. So I thought, fair enough, it's going to be a one-off flight. Another most tracked flight was LOT Airways flying Toronto to Warsaw, which landed at 1:08 local time, 8 minutes after the Royal Canadian Air Force flight departed. I thought, are these two things in any way related? And if so, how? And then she attached a couple of screenshots of both flights. She says, plus just the airport at the time, I count 20-ish ground vehicles on the move. Also odd. I'm not sure about that. I don't think that's that odd. It looks like this airport that she showed from Flight Radar 24 puts transponders on their actual ground vehicles. I'm not sure how many airports do that, but this one does. And I'm pretty sure that 20 probably, depending on the time of day, is not unusual at all.
Common to see ground vehicles at a lot of big airports. If
Mm.
you're looking at Flight Radar 24. Mm-hmm.
It is common.
They
to
show
see
up like
that?
little like trucks or cars.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess I haven't lurked on Flight Radar 24 as much as you guys have. Okay. And let's see. Let me get back to the feedback here. Doesn't the nearby highway, or on another note, wait a minute. I think I must have skipped something. Where was I? Okay. Nope. This is exactly where I left off. On another note, doesn't the nearby highway structure labeled Pilotow, Pilotow, look very much like a runway? It stops abruptly, just like a runway. I wonder if this has ever caused pilot confusion in bad weather. When I zoom in, it appears it might actually be an old repurposed runway. See yellow circled area. If so, wouldn't it be better to obliterate it to avoid confusion? Better stop now before I find more oddities or coincidences to ask about. P.S. I'm having fun hearing my feedback read on the show. I'm starting to feel like part of the community versus just listening in. And again, this is Roberta in Victoria. Okay. I haul boxes. I'm hearing that echo again from Liz.
It's not me this time.
Okay. I haul boxes says these are all over the place in Germany and Greece and more places in Europe. So I guess he's talking about the Marguerite arrangement of the fighter jet pads. Okay, cool. And then
I wonder what the advantage of having it in like the half round instead of just like a straight line. Like I understand having pads on both sides of a taxiway, but like couldn't you just square that thing off?
It's not as pretty that way, Nick.
That's true.
Mm-hmm. This looks like that's exactly what I was going to say, Liz. Looks like a crown or like a, I don't know, like a virus.
Great. It looks like coronavirus. Now we know the source.
Sorry.
This airport. Anyway, so is Nick? Oh, it looks like Nick is back. Maybe he's going to rejoin us and he can tell us about the. So we were talking about the second one from Roberta regarding that piece of interesting looking highway that looked like could be a runway that might be confusing to crews. And I think that did you kind of look into this, Captain Nick?
Well, yeah, it's. I did indeed. I went there and took some pictures.
You went all the way over there?
Yeah,
Did you have to fly?
I went to Warsaw. I flew in. I was on the flight deck, looking down at the runway, and so I got my camera out and took some pictures. And
that's dedication.
Yeah, I know. So you've already discussed the dispersal revetments and the hard standings.
Yeah, if you want to say something about that, you're
standings. No, you've done it. Military hard standings to park airplanes on. I'm afraid that's just the kind of normal end of the straight stretch of that road, Roberta. It's not. I don't think it'll be confused as a runway because it won't be illuminated like one, and there are a lot of bridges over it. So I think anyone on the approach is going to go, that's not a runway.
That
and
would,
you can actually see, it's
yeah.
actually just a road. They've continued the central reservation, or what do you guys call it? The
median is what we call it.
Yeah, all the way along. So it's got the normal sort of protection barriers and things right to the end. Now I suspect that they envisage possibly continuing that road on when they've acquired the land beyond it, or whatever, or perhaps that's just the way they decided to finish the road off. But if you look in the other direction, you can see it's just a continuation of the road. All sorts of blocks and things in there to stop people driving down it by accident. And perhaps will eventually join up with something. But there are a lot of airports with big roads around them, and it's not often that airliners mistake them, but ones that are well illuminated and could possibly be mistaken for runways, they actually make a note usually on the approach plates, particularly the airfield plates, reminding pilots that there is an adjacent airfield that could be mistaken for the one that the plate is for, or a road that can be at times be mistaken for a runway. So once it's recognized that there is a possible hazard, we're always alerted to that on our approach plates and in the airfield briefings we get. So long as you're a studious sort of chap that reads these things before you go somewhere, particularly if it's a new airport, then you
would that be in the NOTAMs?
Protected. Yeah.
Captain Nick?
No, actually, no.
That's what
they're a
NOTAMs
load
are.
of
They're
garbage.
just a bunch of garbage.
Yeah, as we all know. No, these are the important things, the airfield briefings and approach briefings that we get given. And, you get generic ones that Jeppesen produced with all the approach plates and landing plates, that sort of thing. But also, if you're work for a good airline like Delta or Virgin, then they'll usually provide a separate briefing book with specific notes for airfields that airline goes to, usually with observations from its own pilots who found various problems or little clever ways of getting around issues that they have at those airports.
Very good. All right. Thank you very much. We have some audio feedback from one of our community members, JJ Pittsburgh. So take it away, JJ.
Greetings, APGers. It's JJ Pittsburgh here. I have a cold, and it's not fun having a cold, but the only thing I like about having a cold is it gives me a deeper voice, and I could sound like that, like the Love Doctor on the radio, so I could say, "It's the Love Doctor on WPTS. I'm JJ Pittsburgh here." But anyway, I digress. So I was driving in the rideshare car, and I was picking up a bunch of passengers, and you always hear a lot in the Uber or whatever, and so they were bandying about, chatting, all kind of stuff about flying, and the one person said, "Oh yeah, my brother's a pilot, pretty much 99% of flying is automated at this point." And which I knew that percentage is not correct. I know that there's a lot of automation in flying, but I figured since they brought that up, I wanted to pose the question to the experts at the APG, and I figured I'd ask, what percentage do you believe is automated in flying? So if you took like all the different parts of flying and the parts that are automated, what percentage would you say? I know it's not 99%. That's utterly ridiculous. And I didn't say anything. I didn't want to interject and say, "Hey, I'm a member of the APG community and you're full of crap." But anyway, it's been a while. I hope everyone's well, and we will talk soon. Look forward to hearing your answer. Peace and love. Peace and love.
Peace and love. Peace and love. Yeah, that would have been rude if you had said that, JJ, to your paying customers. And actually,
no, if you're in New York, that would be perfectly normal for your driver to say that.
True. Yeah, but not in Pittsburgh. Well, maybe. I don't know. But I think the percentage really, 99%, you're right. I mean, that's it's more like 98%, I think. So, no. Okay, so here's the problem. A great deal of all commercial flights, or airline flights, whatever, are flown with the autopilot engaged. However, I think that we have to differentiate between the autopilot and automation, because automation is like uses the autoflight system to actuate the controls of the aircraft and fly the darn thing. But it is automation kind of entails much more in depth, like when we program our route for the flight into the flight computer. Once you're in that realm of the flight, or shortly after you take off, actually, if you're flying a departure route and then cruise altitudes and then an arrival procedure, all that stuff is pre-programmed into the flight computer. And once you engage the autopilot, hook up the autopilot with the navigation system, that is kind of close to, I think, what most people think of as automation. But I think it's also important to differentiate between automation as in, like, you don't even have to think about what or pay attention to what the airplane is doing, and never having to intervene, or if the air traffic controller wants the airplane to do something else other than what you're doing, that the airplane will just do it. Well, it doesn't happen like that. We are actually in the cockpit, we are actually flying the airplane. If the autoflight system or the quote unquote automation is on, you are still mentally flying the airplane. And in some cases, or most of the cases, I'd say, that's more tiring and demanding than if you're just have nothing, no autoflight system on at all, and you have your hands on the control yoke or the control stick and the throttles. That's completely manual flying, and as far as mental capacity, it doesn't take as much because you're actively physically actuating controls. But when the autoflight system is on, you are actually flying the airplane through the autoflight system and making changes in headings and altitudes, and you're looking at the radar for weather and deviating around weather and all. In the autoflight, so you see the differentiation that you have to make there. And if that's the definition, that, in other words, what percentage of the flight are the pilots actually manipulating the controls manually, physically, I'd say probably, depending if it's an ultra long haul or a long haul flight, I'd say 99% is probably darn close to the percentage of time that the autoflight system is actually quote unquote flying the air. And even on short flight, I remember that my former airline did some kind of a survey, and I guess they have all this these sensors and systems that can monitor what is being done on the airplane, and it knows when the autoflight system's on and how you're manipulating the controls of the autoflight system and everything else. And they did a fleet by fleet breakdown of the actual amount of time that the airplane is being manually flown and how much of the time it's on autopilot. And I was very, very surprised at how small the percentage was of actually manually controlling the airplane on some of the fleets. Yeah, so I don't know if that helps or not, but maybe some of my illustrious co-hosts can kind of chime in and maybe make it a little bit more easily understood. Or not.
Yeah, I'll pipe up, Jeff, and add my two penny worth. I kind of thought about it and thought, well, for the average short-haul commuter flight, 30 minutes or an hour, the percentage will be quite high because, you're in a position to fly the airplane and a lot. What is going on?
Your camera, your pan tilt zoom camera
So
just
Jeff
does not like your
For
face.
those listening to the audio podcast, Jeff was frozen, so we were just, listening to him
we're
talking.
having
And
a few
then,
technical difficulties here.
Oh, I was frozen?
yeah, for quite
You
a
have
while.
been, yes.
Yeah. And
Oh.
then Nick's camera decided it no longer wanted to look at Nick, and it
Yep.
turned around like 180 degrees.
Stuck its head in the curtain.
my.
Yeah, you're right. For a long haul flight, I suppose if you included taxi time, we might be actually controlling the airplane for about an hour out of a 10-hour flight, which is 10%. In order to get down to 1%, it would be a 100-hour flight, wouldn't it? 1 hour out of 100 hours, and that would be a damn long flight. So, 3 minutes takeoff, 3 minutes landing, 10-hour flight, 1%. Yeah, well, I'm including taxing. Which,
so I wouldn't include that as the flight, the ground ops. But
well, by the definition of the question, that you could include it. I thought, but you're right. Actually,
sure, go ahead. We'll include it.
Hand flying the aeroplane, yes, much less. But then again, you're obliged to in most cases, because even if you hand flew the airplane up to the RVSM airspace, where you are obliged to have the autopilot in, you still wouldn't get more than about 15 minutes on the takeoff, 15 minutes on the descent, perhaps 20 minutes. You're still gonna only get less than an hour. So I would say it's still a small percentage, but your point is well taken. The autopilot is just an aid. It's just a way of flying the airplane. Hand flying is one way. Using the autopilot, manipulating the autopilot is another way, but still you are controlling the airplane. You are deciding its path. Even when the automation has taken over and it is following a route, you are still monitoring that route and correcting it and taking any deviations off it that are required for weather or air traffic requirements, etc., etc. So I don't think there's any moment when you're not actually flying the airplane. You're just not physically with your hands on the controls messing about with it. And some people would say that's a good thing.
Yep.
And that's also just airline operations, right?
Right.
Like the closest thing I have to automation in any of the airplanes I fly is I can beam a flight plan from my iPad to the radio, and that's about it.
Wow.
I was going to say, I can tell you with great certainty how much of the time my flights are using any sort of automation. It's zero. Yeah. Zero.
That's old school real flying right there. I think really the question I would ask is, or the point that I would make to what this guy, the rider in this in his car, I think, what was his point? Was he trying to alleviate or allay anxiety and fear of flying with some of the other riders in the car and say, well, my brother tells me that, 99% of the time it's automation anyway, almost to say, well, that's going to make it a lot safer when the humans aren't having anything to do with the flight. I kind of feel like that I've heard that kind of thing said before. In fact, pilots, in a lot of cases, we kind of become our own worst enemies by saying stuff like when somebody comes up to the cockpit and they have some anxiety and everything else, and they say, well, anybody could do it. We just push a few buttons and it just does it. And somehow that's supposed to make them feel better. But on the other hand, it makes pilots look like we're not skilled. We're not really necessary. And maybe that's why all the airline executives think that they can get rid of us, because they think that's all we really do is push a couple of buttons and the automation does everything for us. I don't know. Do you kind of feel like that might be why he heard that from one of his passengers and maybe trying to make other people feel better about anxiety?
Most certainly. I think we are our own worst enemies. We make light of the skill required to operate the airplane and fly the airplane. Because if you tell people, it can be really hard. It can be really taxing. We end up in some very difficult situations. Got to make very difficult decisions. Got to use every ounce of our skill to keep the airplane, plowing forwards and landing safely. They're going to be quite rightly terrified. But no. I think in order to make people feel safe, we often play down the difficulties involved in what we do.
I agree. And Neil, in our live audience, makes a good analogy here. When you're driving, the actual engine operation, fuel injection, et cetera, is automated. Then you've got cruise control, climate control, but you still have to drive. Yeah, so it's the same kind of equivalency, I think, or very close to the same kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, message to be passed along from the control room here, because Liz isn't sure that you're hearing her anymore, Jeff. She would like to do number 6, which is Nigel's next, and then wrap it up.
I didn't realize that my Unity had gone offline, and now I'm back online. Thanks, Liz. Sorry about that. I was thinking that Liz was just being very, very quiet. Okay, so
she's
6.
She's been like yelling, like, "Where is Jeff? I can't talk to Jeff." Anyway.
Sorry about that. I don't know if I want to do Nigel's little thing.
Nigel's got a little thing. I've seen him in the shower. I can confirm this.
Wow.
Okay.
I could respond personally to the running thing. It's not. I don't think it's.
I thought you were going to say about Nigel's little thing.
Nigel's little thing is running? Oh my, that sounds like a personal problem. I know you could, and we're all thinking it.
Nigel's here to hear all this too.
I know, that's the best part.
It's great, isn't it?
Hope he's raising his glass to this conversation.
Well, thanks again, JJ, for your audio feedback. We really appreciate it, and hopefully our answer worked for you. We're going to continue on with this from Nigel, who is in our live audience at the moment that I'm speaking here. Airbus and minimal pilot ops. Dear Captain Jiff and crew, he likes to call me Jiff instead of Jeff. Captain Jiff and crew, I couldn't watch the attached video, bearing in mind I still like steam trains and miss flight engineers. The subcaption was enough for me, but I thought you or the community might be interested. Okay, so the video he's referring to is entitled, it's from Mentor Pilot, which is a great a YouTube channel, and it's Airbus Dragonfly, end of pilots. Will Airbus Project Dragonfly spell the end for pilots? Okay, well, I got a little bit of audio from the video here that is a little teaser, and it's like a 45-minute long video or something like that, so we're not going to play the whole thing, obviously, but I do enjoy Mentor Pilot's creations, and so we're going to play a little bit, like a little teaser for you. Here we go.
What actually is the Airbus Dragonfly project? Well, for me personally, it's something that comes with a lot of contradicting feelings. On one hand, it involves some really fascinating technology, stuff that could create tools that would really help pilots maintain both situational awareness, reduce our workload, and probably therefore increase safety. But on the other hand, these same technologies could bring changes to the industry that I think that no pilot actually want to see.
Australian pilots have raised concerns about new Airbus technology inspired by the extraordinary eyesight of dragonflies.
Stay tuned.
All right, so you get a little bit of a taste of it's a very well-produced YouTube channel, Mentor Pilot, a 737 airline pilot in Europe. And so you should check out we'll have the link to that in the show notes. And so Nick, you said Captain Nick, you watched the entire video. I did as well. What's your takeaway here?
Yeah, I was very impressed with it. It really is an extension of what we already have, in that the automation is there and available for most phases of flight. This includes taxiing and takeoff as well. They're incorporating AI along with sensors, mainly visual cameras and things that will interpret the outside world and guide an aircraft around. So there is the suggestion that Dragonfly will lead to the possibility of single pilot operations for certain phases of the flight. And if you take that the next step, and this is my opinion, not necessarily what they were saying on the video, that they will automate the aircraft such that you don't need a second pilot for just the takeoff and landing phase. You can do without them completely, and the aircraft will more or less be completely autonomous. We all know that there are enormous problems with that they will have to overcome before they can get there. But we're certainly on that path, and it's a natural progression, really, from the days of requiring a 5-man flight deck to now only having a 2-person flight deck for even the most enormous aircraft. And the only reason that we need more pilots than that is because pilots need to rest because the flights can be so long. Particularly in the cruise phase, which is the easiest one really to automate, you can almost do away with them because the cabin crew come on to the flight deck during the average cruise, and no one's looking out the windows. We're all sitting there working on our paperwork or reading books, manuals, that sort of thing, or head down in the box checking something. There's not a lot to be done in certain phases of the cruise, and that can easily be automated completely, so that the pilot doesn't really need to be there.
And that's you're kind of referring to the kind of flying that you were doing, the long haul stuff, whereas
Absolutely.
Flying domestically, whether in Europe, UK, North America, it's a little bit of a different situation than cruise. It's a little bit busier.
Much busier, much busier. And but with enough automation, and that will have to be incorporated not just into the aircraft, but into all the air traffic systems as well, because the demands of guiding so many aircraft, say around the United States, is, with the technology that's currently available, is very man intensive. And we've seen very recently, what happens when things can go wrong. So and it's a project that is being looked at. I think it'll take a long time, and certainly it'll take a long time before the airlines and the manufacturers. And don't forget that Boeing has its own projects that are very similar to Airbus's. Before the unions will even contemplate the concept of taking 2 pilots out of the flight deck down to 1, let alone none. So, there's a long way to go before we go there.
Yeah, thankfully. Nigel ends his feedback subbishop by saying, "Can't wait for the V1 tails, etc., except on landing." And then he signs off, "The most prestigious of them all, Hong Kong Nigel." Wow, he has a very high opinion of himself for having a little thing like he has.
It's a compensatory mechanism.
Oh, yeah. What are you compensating for?
Yeah.
Okay, Liz is telling me that my video is frozen, but my audio is okay. So, okay, that's good.
I think your video is fine. It's actually, you've got a really nice expression on your face, and everything looks good.
You had a really nice smile, almost like you were mid laughter at one point, and then it changed to maybe more unsure.
Well, that's my true inner feelings. Unsure. So I think that we should maybe wrap it up, Liz, you think? Or you want to do the one from... Okay. So this next one from Mark Knockenhauer, Reading Airport 39 years later. He says, first time writing in. Where have you been, Mark? Come on. In APG episode 648, you had a feedback on the coincidence of the listener reading about Reading Airport and then hearing about an incident at that same airport. That was Roberta in Victoria. The day this episode came out was on the 39th anniversary of one of my first solo cross-country flights. I planned a flight from my home airport of Placerville to Reading and back. Flight there was uneventful with a safe landing at Reading. Parked the plane to use the restroom before flying home. When I came out of the restroom and walking past the pilot lounge, a special report was on the news. The date was January 28, 1986, the day of the Challenger disaster. The Space Shuttle Challenger disaster. It was a very somber flight home. As I write this, I just learned about the CRJ crash there in Washington, D.C. Not sure how to end this, but with hopes and prayers for those affected by today's events. Mark Knockenhauer. Thank you, Mark. And we still are thinking, praying for the families and friends of the victims of the terrible accident in Washington, D.C. But we're thankful that you finally wrote in, Mark, after all this time. Yeah, anytime, Liz says.
Yeah, can we have some slightly happier coincidences next time, please?
Yeah, true. Yeah, thanks for bringing us down, Mark.
Yeah.
All right. And then you said, Steph, you didn't want to talk about the robot runners?
I mean, we could end with that. It's
Okay.
not depressing. It's just not aviation related.
No, but who cares?
Okay.
Yeah, it's mostly
We'll
it's a
end with
mostly aviation podcast. Maybe I should change the tagline to instead of an aviation podcast, mostly aviation.
Occasionally aviation. Or
Occasionally. So Peter
Some of us are
Tarantelli.
pilots.
This is technology related, I suppose, and we're talking about automation and taking over pilots' jobs. So go ahead with this.
Okay. So this one, Peter Tarantelli in our live audience says, this one's for Steph, Dr. Steph. And he sent us a link to this article from Running Magazine, Canadian Running Magazine, actually. Robots to race humans at China Half Marathon. Two-legged droids will take on the 21.1. I thought it was just 21 kilometers, but okay, 21.1.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, just slightly long. Okay, event for the first time in Beijing in April. In Beijing, 12,000 runners are gearing up for a half marathon, as many have before. The only difference this time is that their main competitors will be machines rather than humans. The race set for April will see humanoid robots from more than 20 companies completing the full 21.1K race for the first time. Steph, you obviously know much more about this than the rest of us because none of us are runners except for you. Well, I take that. I could be wrong about that. Camacho, are you a runner? Okay.
I don't know. I had an upset
like a runner.
stomach yesterday and I was running.
Oh, thank you.
Needs more fiber. We've already discussed
Oh, yeah,
this.
you need more fiber.
Fair enough.
Yes, Seth, go ahead.
Just a couple of quick thoughts, and then we can wrap things up. But the later in the article, it does mention that their speed reportedly may range up to 8 to 12 kilometers per hour. That's an hour and a half marathon. My fastest time in the half marathon is only low 140s, so that's pretty quick. That's moving, and I'm impressed because, at least from what I understand, I'm not huge into robotics or anything, but designing a robot that walks upright in a human form has been was always kind of a historical challenge for designers and programmers. So the fact that it's progressed to the point where these robots are now running, and keeping up with some pretty fast human runners that's impressive to me. So interesting.
And they have given. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was going to ask Steph why they look like they're about to punch people. I mean, is that how they're going to win? They're just going to take out...
Yeah, they
just knock out anybody
they
in
haven't
their
said
way.
anything about
they got fists on the end of their arms.
They haven't said anything about how sentient these robots are, because they have to also know the course, right? Like they can't just say run and it's just going to run in a straight line and off the course and into traffic or something. So it's got to have some
that
sort
head
of
looks a bit like a
intelligence.
Cylon, I think.
So maybe
I'd,
they are.
I'd be careful.
about to
Yeah.
turn against the humans. And
If they
this
see,
is,
like, if
this
they
is the
spot
beginning
an,
of the end. So it's
if
been
they
nice
spot an
knowing you all.
EV, electric vehicle, will they go like chasing after it, like with some kind of robotic lust or something? I mean, I think that might be something that might be a problem.
Well, you watch out for your tailpipe. Oh, if it's an electric vehicle, it doesn't
don't
have
have
one,
one.
does it?
Yeah. Oh,
now,
yeah.
if
Be
I were
careful.
competing against it, I'd just carry a walking stick, and every now and
Trip
again
'em all.
I'd jam it between those legs and watch it fall flat in his face.
Like in a bicycle tire, just grink.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Neil in our live audience says, a real Iron Man. That's a good one. And Nigel says, his is small. Now, Nigel, you're being a little defensive, I think. They did say they're making allowance for like halfway through for them to change out the batteries, which I think is cheating.
What? Yeah, definitely.
I mean, that's okay. People have to, like real humans, have to pit stop and go to aid stations. So we have to fuel too, especially for longer distances. Half marathon starts to get into that category.
I'm surprised they're allowing him to be 0.5 meters tall. I wonder how many 1.5 foot tall human.
Yeah, that's the lower end.
races.
That's not big at all.
No.
Oh, and
It's
in
like a
case
little
anyone was
toy.
really wondering, a half marathon distance is 21.0975 kilometers in distance.
Oh, okay.
To be exact.
Good to know. Yeah, automation. Yeah, exactly. All right. Let's wrap this baby up as we do and point you to our website, airlinepilotguy.com. I'll make it short and sweet. Go there, check it out. Lots of good stuff there. And we are also on social media, or what I like to call the social medias, because I'm an old boomer.
Socialmedias. It sounds so short and sweet too. We're on Facebook.com. That's Facebook.com/airlinepilotguy. Head over to X. We're at APG Crew with individual handles pinned to the top of that page, I believe, still. If you're looking for the show artwork each week, or perhaps looking to find the hidden gems in the show artwork, you can find that on Instagram, Instagram.com/APG Crew. And to see our lovely faces and the live video of these recordings. Head over to youtube.com/@airlinepilotguy/streams.
Yeah, I need to change that back. You could just go to YouTube and just put in Airline Pilot Guy, and that'll
And it works
do the
now?
trick.
Simple.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
And speaking of simple, is anyone there at the RVS?
Oh, you mean like simple-minded? Yeah.
No, I meant Slack. It's a simple platform for community engagement, and he'll tell us more.
Yeah. I can you tell us?
Okay, but I'm dripping wet.
That's okay. Come on over here and tell us all about Slack, sir.
APG listeners, please join us on our Slack team. Slack is a communication, coordination, and sharing platform that works on your mobile, laptop, or browser. On Slack, we share news and ideas, we suggest episode and plain tales topics, we plan events and meetups. To get into the Slack team, please email me at slack@airlinepilotguy.com. That's SLACK, Sierra Lima Alpha Charlie Kilo @airlinepilotguy.com, or send me a tweet with your preferred email address to @Hillel, and I'll send you an invitation. That's Hillel, spelled Hotel India 11 Echo 1, and see you in Slack.
Thanks a lot, Hillel. I have to tell you, earlier today, I was trying to talk to Hillel in the bathroom, and I recorded this.
Jeff, this is my private time. Would you let me finish a poo for once?
Yeah, sorry.
Oh,
doesn't like to be interrupted.
I did. Pupus interruptus.
Well, when you've only got one bathroom.
Well, I know. You have to be careful with that.
Monopolizes it, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks, Hillel, for everything you do. And Liz, speaking of everything you do, thanks so much for all the hard work that you do behind the scenes,
My
in front of the
pleasure.
scenes,
Always
during
my
the scenes,
pleasure.
and making a scene.
Yeah, always making a scene. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. And our live audience, round of applause for them as well, our live chat.
Oh,
room.
yeah. Cheers,
Appreciate
everybody.
it.
Great to
Yes.
see you all.
Great to have you all, and a great crew today, and look forward to getting together again soon and talking aviation mostly. And with that, we're going to say, wishing you all clear skies, unlimited visibility, and tailwinds. Talons, Douglas.
Cheers, y'all.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks for joining us.
See you next time.
Go robots.
Yabadoo. Okay, there's a bunch of suggestions here in the chat room, Nick, for your titles. Let's see where we got here. We got Tim Van Ram here. He's got Murmur Nation instead of Murmuration. I thought I saw a duck. Get your ducks in a row. Jet Blue Ice, that was from Steffi, and I had that one too.
Yep, I've got something
Got
similar.
that one. Needs more fiber. Nigel's little
like that
thing.
No, I quite like Nigel's little thing.
I'll bet you do.
Metro Doc's got ice bombs.
Yeah, I think I've got JetBlue Watermelon Ice Bomb Trespass.
Okay, so I've got a couple here for you if you don't have enough already. Highway to Nowhere. That was Roberta's thing. Highway to Nowhere.
Kind of like Highway to Heaven.
Yeah, sort of that.
Highway to Hell, more like it.
Potential Snarge. That's sort of like all those birds flying around are potential Snarge.
I got a Snarge Fest, is what I got.
Yeah, that's good. Break a leg, Steph. Somebody said that to Steffi today. Break a leg, Steph. Thanks.
Yeah, I think that was me.
There you go. And ice trespassers, because they were trespassing that ice.
Yeah, no trespass sign.
No
maybe.
trespassing. Yeah, you could really have that whole house decorated with those signs. So, anyway,
Got it. Got
okay.
those. Well done.
Good. All righty.
Lots of stuff.
Well, thanks everybody. That was a great chat room today too. Always is. But
Yeah,
that was a
I'm
good one.
kind of abnormal. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just kidding. Am I still frozen?
Yes.
Yep.
Oh, yes. And,
And
what?
for a
It's
while
actually
you were
better when
delayed.
you're frozen. Yeah, because there was
While
like
you were
a
asleep.
5-second delay between
know.
your
And it looked like you were still talking, but you were
words.
done talking.
Oh, boy. Well, thank goodness for the backup recording on StreamYard, huh?
Yeah.
Indeed.
Okay, everybody. We're going to say good night to everybody, and thanks for joining us. See you next week. Bye.
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 Cheers,
Love you
everyone.
guys.
Bye, Nige. Sleep well.